The hallway fell silent, too silent. Sneakers squeaked once, then stopped. All eyes locked on the girl standing at her locker, her head bowed, earbuds in, lost in her own world. The new girl. Hey. The word cracked through the air like a whip. 3 steps forward, and Tasha Reynolds, queen of Jefferson High, strutted up with a grin sharp enough to cut glass. Her crew followed close behind, phone cameras already rolling. Look at her, y'all, Tasha said, voice dripping with mock sweetness. Didn't anybody tell you this is my hallway? The girl didn't answer. She just kept organizing her book slowly, methodically. That silence made Tasha's smile falter for half a second. I'm talking to you, new girl. Finally, the earbuds came out. The new girl turned. Its calm eyes. No fear, no flinch, just an unsettling stillness. Sorry, she said softly. Didn't hear you? Tasha chuckled, pretending it didn't bother her. You're hearing me now, right? The new girl's gaze flicked to the camera lens, then back to Tasha. Her voice dropped to a whisper, barely audible. I hear everything. A ripple of confusion passed through the hallway. Then Tasha shoved her shoulder, testing. You better watch yourself, newbie. I don't play nice. The girl's locker door slammed shut with a metallic snap loud. Final, for the first time, she stepped closer. 1 inch from Tasha's face. Her tone was calm, almost kind. Neither do I. The air froze. Even the camera hands stopped shaking. Somewhere in that quiet, someone muttered, Wait, she? That girl from the MMA academy? Tasha blinked, her smirk fading, and for the first time, the bully didn't know if she'd just picked a fight or signed her own lesson before Jefferson High ever knew her name. Mara Lewis had already lived a dozen lives. She'd moved from city to city, shadow to shadow, following her mom's endless trail of new jobs. New beginnings, and the promise that this time, things will be different. But things were rarely different. Atlanta. Chicago, Baltimore, each school came with the same faces and different bodies. Kids who whispered, who pointed, who sized her up like she didn't belong. Being the new girl wasn't new to Amara. She'd learned silence was her armor, stillness her defense. People didn't mess with what they couldn't read, but Jefferson High was supposed to be a clean slate. A quiet school in a small Virginia town where her mom finally landed a full-time nursing position. A place with better teachers, safer streets, maybe a little peace. Except Jefferson High had Tasha Reynolds. Tasha was the kind of girl the world bowed to. Daddy's money, mama's beauty, and a mouth that could turn lies into gospel. Her social media was her throne. Her followers, loyal soldiers. She wasn't evil for the sake of it. She was a product of her world. A world that taught her power meant control. That being feared meant being respected. So when the new girl didn't flinch at her words, didn't laugh at her jokes, didn't even look impressed, Stasha felt something she hadn't felt in years. Small. Amara didn't mean to make enemies. But some people take silence as disrespect. In class, she kept to herself. Top scores in English. Quiet presence in history. Always sketching in her notebook when the teacher wasn't looking. Her drawings were haunting shadows of faces, clenched fists, eyes staring through cages. Sometimes even she didn't know what she was drawing until it was done. At lunch, she sat alone by choice. Her tray was always neat: fruit cup, sandwich, water. Her phone stayed off. When the cafeteria roared with gossip, laughter, and TikTok dances, she seemed to exist in a different world entirely. But still, people noticed her. The way she walked shoulders straight, steps deliberate. The faint scars on her knuckles when she reached for a pencil. The calm that made others uneasy. Rumors started fast, the way they always do in small schools. She used to fight back in Georgia. Nah, she got expelled somewhere. I heard she's got anger issues. Mara didn't care. Rumors were just noise. What they didn't know couldn't hurt her. Her mom, Denise, worked double shifts at the hospital. Coming home exhausted but hopeful. Baby, just keep your head down, she'd say, rubbing her temples. Graduate, get that scholarship. You re-smart. You don't need to fight no one's battles, but your own. Amara would nod, smile, promise. But she couldn't tell her mom that sometimes silence wasn't safety. Sometimes silence just painted a target on your back. Meanwhile, Tasha ruled the social hierarchy like a self-crowned queen, cheer captain, homecoming favorite, and CEO of the Hallway Chronicles, a series of cruel videos she posted of embarrassing classmates for laughs. She wasn't hated, she was worshipped. Her followers loved her confidence, her quick comebacks, the way she could turn anyone's pain into a punchline. And when Tasha noticed Amara's quiet grace, her self-control, her refusal to play the social game, she saw a challenge. Someone who wouldn't feed her ego. Someone who didn't fear her spotlight. That made Amara dangerous. The first week passed without incident. But tension grew like static. Glances in the hallway. Whispered jokes. A fake compliment here, a snide remark there. By the second week, Tasha's friends started testing the boundaries. Oops, a shoulder bump. Didn't see you there? Laughter followed like a pack of hyenas. Amara absorbed it all. No reaction. Fire. But the silence unnerved them. Because deep down, bullies crave control, and nothing scares them more than someone they can't provoke. What? No one at Jefferson knew was that Amara wasn't just quiet. She was trained. Her father, before he left, was a professional MMA coach in Atlanta. He'd taught her everything. Balance, breathing, precision, restraint. You don't fight to win, he'd say. You fight to end it. After he left, Amara stopped fighting altogether. The gym became a ghost of a memory, the gloves boxed away. But muscle memory doesn't forget, and neither does pain. So when she stood there in that hallway, Tasha's voice slicing through the silence, something ancient stirred beneath Amara's calm surface. Not rage, just clarity. She wasn't going to swing. Not unless she had to. But she'd spent her whole life running from trouble. And maybe this time, trouble had finally caught up. That's what no one understood about quiet people. They're not empty. They're loading, and in Jefferson High, something was about to go off. By Monday morning, the air at Jefferson High had shifted. The weekend's gossip had done its work. Everyone knew something had gone down between Tasha and the new girl. And because no one had seen the full video yet, rumors had filled the gaps like wildfire. Some said Amara had threatened Tasha. Others swore she was a black belt, who once knocked out a teacher. The truth was simpler and far more dangerous. Amara had looked at Tasha, just looked calm, unshaken, and somehow, that quiet defiance had rattled the Queen of Jefferson High more than a punch ever could. Tasha arrived Monday morning in full armor, new lashes, new sneakers, and her camera crew of loyal friends. If the hallway was her stage, today's performance would be unforgettable. Let's go viral, she whispered. The first shot came in the form of laughter. Not loud, not obvious, but enough to draw eyes toward Amara as she entered homeroom. Someone had replaced her chair with a broken one. When she sat, it collapsed under her. A wave of laughter rippled through the room. Amara didn't curse, didn't cry. She just stood, brushed off her jeans, and picked up the pieces. The teacher tried to intervene, but Amara waved her off. I'm fine. That only made it worse. Tasha smirked from the back of the room, phone half hidden. She wanted a reaction, humiliation on camera, a clip for her hallway chronicles. But Amara didn't give her the show. Lunchtime brought round two. Tasha's crew accidentally spilled grape juice across Amara's sketchbook. Her drawings, the only thing she shared with no one, bled purple. This time, Mara froze mid-motion, eyes locked on the ruined paper. Her breath came slow, even. For a heartbeat, silence fell around her table. Then Tasha's voice cut through. Oh, my bad girl. You wanted purple rain or something? Laughter exploded. But when Amara finally lifted her head, something in her gaze made the laughter die halfway. She didn't shout. Didn't insult. She just said one word. Why? Tasha blinked. Why what? Why do you need me to break for you to feel big? The cafeteria went still. Even the sound of trays clattering seemed distant. Tasha scoffed, flipping her hair. You think you deep, huh? Girl, this is high school. You either run it or get run over. Amara nodded slowly, collecting the soaked pages. Then, I guess I'll walk. That simple line, quiet, graceful, disarming, spread through the cafeteria like a spark. Some students smiled. Others whispered. But one thing was clear. Tasha's words didn't land, and that infuriated her. That afternoon, Amara sat alone under the bleachers behind the football field, wringing out her sketchbook pages. She wasn't crying, she never did, but her chest burned with the weight of restraint. She could have ended this already. One move, one controlled strike, and Tasha's empire would crumble. But fighting never solved anything. She'd learned that the hard way. She heard footsteps crunching behind her. Someone was watching. Hey, she turned. A tall boy with warm brown skin and kind eyes stood a few feet away, backpack slung over one shoulder. I'm Jalen, he said. You probably don't remember me. We got English together. Mara nodded, wary. Yeah, you sit near the window, he smiled. You've got a memory like a camera. You okay? She hesitated, then shrugged. I'm used to it. Jalen sat beside her, picking at a blade of grass. You shouldn't have to be. There's something in his tone. Not pity, just understanding. It disarmed her in a way Tasha's cruelty couldn't. People like Tasha, Jalen said quietly, they feed off reaction. But you starve her. Mara gave a small, tired smile. That's not strength. That's survival. Same thing sometimes. For the first time since she'd arrived, Amara felt seen. Not like a rumor, but like a person. Still, she knew better than to let her guard down. Jalen seemed genuine, but in small schools, alliances could shift overnight. The next morning, the trap was set. When Amara walked into the gym for PE, whispers followed her like a shadow. The girls lined up by the lockers, and Coach Ramirez clapped his hands. All right, people, today we're doing basic self-defense drills. Pair up. The room erupted with noise. Everyone knew what was coming. Tasha, already grinning, called out, Hey, Coach. Me and new girl should pair up. I want to see what she's got. The gym collectively held its breath. Coach Ramirez, oblivious to the tension, nodded. Sounds good? Amara, you okay with that? Amara simply said, Sure. Jalen from across the gym caught her eye, shaking his head slightly, a silent warning, but Amara wasn't afraid. Not anymore. Tasha strutted to the mat, ponytail swinging. Don't worry, I'll go easy on you, she said loud enough for the crowd to hear. Amara tied her hair back, her movements calm, deliberate. You should, she replied softly. The class circled around. Phones slipped discreetly out of pockets. Coach demonstrated a simple hold, how to block a grab and escape. It's not about power, he said. It's about leverage and control. Got it, Tasha said, smirking. They squared up. Tasha lunged first, fast but reckless, reaching to grab Amara's wrist in one motion. Amara pivoted, smooth, effortless, redirecting Tasha's momentum. Before anyone could blink, Tasha was off balance, on her knees, arm gently pinned. Gasps filled the room. Amara released immediately, stepping back. You okay? Tasha scrambled up, red-faced. That was luck. Try again, Amara said quietly. Tasha charged harder this time. Another pivot faster. Another clean counter. The crowd's laughter started this time, but it wasn't directed at Amara. Tasha's face flushed crimson. She swung wild now. No technique, just ego. Amara sidestepped, catching her wrist, spinning her gently but firmly to the mat, this time holding her there. For a breathless second, the Queen of Jefferson High lay flat on her back. Staring up at the girl she'd tried to humiliate, Amara leaned close, voice low enough for only her to hear. This isn't about fighting. It's about knowing when to stop. Then she stood, offered her hand. Tasha slapped it away and stormed out of the gym. Fury and shame twisting in her chest. By lunchtime, the video was everywhere. Tasha gets wrecked in gym class. New girls got hands. MMA mystery girl puts bully in her place. Within hours, Amara's face was all over Jefferson High's feeds. Half the school cheered her on. The other half waited for retaliation, and retaliation came, but not in fists. Tasha wasn't done that evening. A new post hit her Hallway Chronicles account. A clip of Amara's gym victory, edited, remixed, mocked. The caption read, "Guess violence runs in the family." Attached below, a photo of Amara's father in old news. Article about his MMA gym shutting down after an incident years ago. Comments flooded in. She, crazy like her dad, explains the attitude. Don't mess with the psycho fighter. Amara saw it at midnight. She sat on her bed, the glow of her phone painting her face in cold light. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from rage. Her mom knocked softly on the door. "You okay, baby?" Amara swallowed hard. "Yeah, just tired." "All right. Don't stay up too late." "Love you. Love you too." The door clicked shut, and Amara finally let the tears fall silent. Steady. She'd spent her whole life controlling her emotions, mastering calm. But this crossed a line. Not just for her. For her family. She remembered her father's voice. "You fight to end it." The halls were quiet. A few students stared, then quickly looked away. Tasha was by her locker, pretending not to notice. "Morning," Amara said evenly. Tasha didn't respond. Amara leaned on the locker beside hers. "You wanted attention. You got it." Tasha scoffed. "You think this is over?" "Girl, this is just content." Amara's eyes darkened. "You dragged my family into it. Your family's fair game if you bring drama to my school. Your school?" Amara's tone stayed flat, almost cold. "You really think anyone respects you? They laugh because they're scared." "That's not power, Tasha. That's pity." Tasha froze. Amara stepped closer, close enough for her voice to drop into a whisper. "I'm not your enemy. But if you keep pushing me, I'll teach you something your followers can't." For the first time. Tasha couldn't find words. Amara turned, walking away, leaving behind an audience too stunned to record. But bullies don't surrender. They escalate. By Friday, Tasha had one last move planned. A setup. A trap. She told her crew she wanted to settle it, one-on-one, after school, behind the gym. Cameras ready. Jalen found Amara at lunch. "Don't go," he warned. "She's setting you up." Amara looked at him, calm but resolved. "I'm not going to fight her. I'm going to end this," he sighed. "You think she'll listen?" "No," Amara said, standing. "But everyone else will." When the final bell rang, the crowd gathered like vultures circling a spectacle. Phones up, anticipation buzzing. Tasha waited in the center. Arms crossed, a defiant smirk hiding the anxiety flickering in her chest. Amara stepped through the circle. Backpack slung over one shoulder. No anger in her eyes. Just purpose. Tasha's voice rang out. "You ready to get your little redemption arc?" Amara dropped her bag on the ground. "No, I'm ready to end the story." Laughter rippled, but quieter this time. Tasha lunged forward, shoving her. "You think you better than me?" Amara didn't move. "No, I just stopped needing to prove it." Another shove. Another wave of laughter. Amara's voice cut through the noise, low and steady. "You want to hit me? Go ahead. But when you're done, ask yourself why you needed an audience." That line hit harder than any punch could. The crowd's energy shifted, uncomfortable, uncertain. Tasha's confidence cracked. "You think you're so perfect." "I'm not," Amara interrupted softly. "I'm just tired of pretending your pain makes you powerful." The silence that followed was heavy, real. For the first time. People saw Tasha, not the bully, not the queen, but a scared girl hiding behind her followers. And in that silence, Amara turned, picked up her backpack, and walked away. Phones were still recording. But this time, no one laughed. Because deep down, everyone knew the fight had already ended. Amara didn't need to swing. She'd already won. The sky hung heavy over Jefferson High, that evening low clouds, the color of bruises. The kind of sky that warned of a storm that had been waiting too long to break. By the time Amara stepped onto campus, word had already spread. Behind the gym, 6 o'clock, Tasha and the MMA girl. For real this time, they gathered in a loose circle. The same faces that once cheered Tasha. Now waiting for something else, a reckoning, a show, a story to post before dinner. But Amara wasn't there for spectacle. She moved with calm purpose. Hands buried in her hoodie pocket, her backpack slung loosely over one shoulder. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't even angry anymore. Anger had burned itself out days ago, leaving behind something, cleaner clarity. Tasha was already there, perfect as ever. Fresh nails, lashes, even a little glitter on her cheekbones because image was everything. Her crew stood behind her, ring lights and phones ready. When she saw Amara, she smiled, all venom and poise. Well, well, the fighter shows up. Guess you don't scare easy. Amara stopped a few feet away. I'm not here to fight. Tasha's grin faltered for half a second before she recovered. Then you came to lose, sweetheart. Cameras are on. I came to finish this, Amara said, voice level, quiet, but cutting through the noise like wind through glass. However it ends, that's on you. Tasha laughed, though it sounded hollow. Girl, please. You think you can waltz in here with your calm voice and big words and act like you're not just scared? Amara didn't blink. You think this is power? Tasha's eyes narrowed. What? Them watching you. Laughing when you hurt people. You think that makes you powerful? The crowd murmured, restless. Tasha's voice rose. I'm not the one who hides behind silence. No, Amara said softly. You hide behind noise. The line hit like a slap. A few students lowered their phones. Others just stared. Tasha took a step forward, fists clenching. Say that again? Amara's voice dropped to a whisper. You hide behind noise. That's when Tasha swung. The punch was wild, untrained, desperate. The kind of hit that came from pride, not precision. Amara moved not fast, not flashy, but right. A shift of weight, pivot. A hand catching Tasha's wrist mid-swing, redirecting her energy. The world seemed to slow. Tasha stumbled, off balance. Amara's knee bent, her shoulder turned. And in one fluid motion she brought Tasha down, not slammed, not thrown. But place-controlled, Tasha landed on the mat of dirt and grass, the air leaving her lungs in a sharp gasp. Phones dropped. Mouths fell open. Amara stood over her, breathing steady. Not triumphant, not cruel, just centered. Get up, she said quietly. Tasha glared, humiliation and rage battling in her eyes. She lunged again, another pivot, another deflection. This time, Amara didn't let her foul, she held her still. One arm locked gently behind her back, her voice calm against Tasha's ear. You don't want this fight, she said. You never did. You just don't know who you are without one. Tasha froze. The sound of her breathing filled the silence. The crowd was dead quiet. No, every phone forgotten. For the first time in her life, Tasha wasn't the center of control. She was seen vulnerable, human. And Amara didn't gloat. She released her grip and stepped back. Tasha turned slowly, disbelief in her eyes. You could have, I didn't, Amara said. Because this isn't about you losing. It's about me being done. The words hit harder than any punch. Tasha staggered to her feet, shaking. You think people are going to respect you now? You embarrassed me, Amara cut her off. No, you embarrassed yourself. Every post, every video you thought you were showing power, but all you showed was pain. Her voice didn't rise, didn't waver. It commanded without shouting. You hurt people so they wouldn't see how hurt you are. But it's showing, Tasha. It's been showing. Tasha's masquerade eyes glistened, not rage this time, but something softer. Confusion, fear, recognition. The crowd stayed frozen, unsure what to do with the raw honesty spilling into the open air. Then Amara stepped forward, close enough that only Tasha could hear. You're not my enemy, she whispered. You're just lost. And with that, she picked up her backpack and walked through the circle. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. For once, Jefferson High had no commentary, no meme, no edit, no punchline, just silence. But the silence didn't last. It never does. Within hours, the footage still leaked. But this time, the edit was different. No flashy captions, no mocking music. Just raw footage, Tasha swinging wild, Amara deflecting, the crowd's hush, and her final words, "You're not my enemy. You're just lost." It spread like wildfire, first in school, then on TikTok, then across local feeds. Hashtag The Quiet Fight trended for days, not because of violence, because of restraint, because of a girl who fought without throwing punches. Even adults commented. Teachers, parents, even strangers. She handled that with grace. That's real power right there. More kids need to see this. But Tasha didn't post again that night. The next morning, Amara walked into school to a hallway of whispers. Different this time. Respectful. Curious.Jaylen caught up beside her. "Hey," a smile tugging at his lips. Amara shook her head. "Didn't mean to. That's what makes it powerful," he said. "You weren't performing? You were real." Amara didn't answer. Part of her still felt uneasy. The calm after a storm always carried that strange quiet, like the world was waiting for something else to fall. In first period, Tasha's seat was empty. By third, a rumor spread that she'd been suspended. By lunch, another rumor said she'd requested a transfer. Amara found her by the vending machines later that day alone. No makeup, no entourage. Just Tasha sitting on the floor, scrolling through her phone like she didn't know who she was without it. For a long moment, Amara stood there, watching her. Then she sat down beside her. Tasha didn't look up. "You here to finish the job?" Amara smiled faintly. "No, just here." Tasha let out a humorless laugh. "Everyone's acting like you're some hero now. I'm not. You could have posted your own video, dragged me, got revenge. Why didn't you?" Amara leaned back against the wall. "Because I've seen what revenge does. It doesn't end anything, it feeds it." Tasha finally looked at her. Her eyes were redrimmed. "You don't know what it's like to have everyone expect you to be perfect." Amara's gaze softened. "You'd be surprised." They sat in silence. For once, neither one of them had a mask on. After a while, Tasha spoke again. "I don't know who I am if I'm not the one in charge." Amara smiled gently. Maybe that's a good place to start. That weekend, Tasha deleted every episode of the Hallway Chronicles. No farewell post. No apology video. Just silence. People talked, speculated, debated, but eventually, the noise faded, and in its place, something new began. Amara joined the school's art club. Jaylen helped her scan her sketches for a showcase. One afternoon, she even found Tasha standing at the doorway. Watching quietly, when their eyes met, Tasha gave a small nod, not friendship yet, but acknowledgement, respect, and that was enough. Weeks later, the school hosted an assembly about bullying and online toxicity. To everyone's surprise, both Amara and Tasha were asked to speak. The auditorium buzzed with curiosity. When Amara took the stage, she paused for a long moment, scanning the crowd. "I used to think strength was about fighting," she began. "My dad taught me how to throw punches, how to defend myself. But what he really taught me, what took me years to understand, is that the strongest person in the room isn't the loudest one. It's the one who can stay calm when everything's trying to break them." Her voice trembled slightly, but her eyes didn't. "I came here to start over. I didn't want attention. But sometimes, life puts you in a fight you didn't ask for, and it's not about winning. It's about choosing who you become after." When she finished, the room was silent. Then applause reel, slow building, heartfelt. Then Tasha stepped forward. No heels, no makeup, no filter. Just her. "When I first met Amara," she said, "I saw something in her that scared me. Not because she was strong, but because she didn't need people to see her to feel it. I didn't understand that kind of peace. I thought control was everything, but I was wrong." Her voice cracked. If I hurt anyone, if I made anyone feel small, know that it came from my own fear of feeling invisible. And that's not an excuse. It's a confession. The crowd was silent again, but this time it wasn't out of shock. It was out of empathy. When the assembly ended, no one pulled out their phones. No one laughed. They just stood, quiet. Moved outside, the air was crisp. The storm had long passed, leaving the world washed clean. Jalen found Amara by the front steps. You did good. So did she, Amara said. He smiled. You think she'll change? Amara looked toward the horizon, where sunlight broke through gray clouds. I think she already has. That evening, Amara sat at her desk, sketchbook open. Her pencil moved slowly, deliberately. When she finished, she looked down and smiled. 2 figures drawn in charcoal. One girl standing still, calm and centered. The other reaching out a hand, hesitant but hopeful. At the bottom she wrote, "You don't fight to win. You fight to end it." That night, her video hit 1 million views, not because of drama, but because of truth. Comments poured in from around the world. This hit deep. I wish I had her strength. We need more stories like this. And as Amara read through them, she realized something. Her story wasn't just about surviving high school or silencing a bully. It was about showing people that real strength isn't about the fight at all. It's about knowing when to walk away. The months after the assembly unfolded quietly, like a long exhale after holding your breath too long. Jefferson High returned to its rhythm bells, chatter, homework, hallway gossip, but something had changed in the undertone. The hallways didn't echo the same way anymore. The laughter wasn't quite as sharp. The whispers not as cruel. Somewhere between that viral video and the assembly, a seed had been planted, a kind of awareness, the kind that grows slowly, without fanfare. Students caught themselves before making jokes at someone's expense. Teachers noticed the quieter kids more, and though it wasn't perfect, it was better. Amara walked through those same halls every morning, still quiet, still steady, but now people greeted her. Not out of fear, out of respect. Even the principal, Mr. Dawson, stopped her one morning. "Miss Lewis," he said, a rare smile tugging at his lips. "Your speech last month, powerful stuff." "We're proud to have you here," Amara thanked him, polite as always. But part of her still struggled with the word proud. She hadn't meant to inspire anyone. She just wanted peace. Still, she couldn't deny how strange it felt, being seen not as the new girl, not as the rumor, but as herself. One afternoon, Amara received a letter in her locker, handwritten, folded neatly in half. "I didn't know how else to say this," it read. "Thank you. You saved me from becoming who I hated." TNO signature was needed. She folded the note carefully, tucking it into her sketchbook. That sketchbook had seen every phase of her since the day she arrived. Silence, restraint, healing. Each page was a different emotion she never spoke aloud. That night, she drew again, this time, a single image, a boxing ring. But inside it weren't 2 fighters. It was one facing her reflection. Beneath it, she wrote, "The hardest fight is the one within." Meanwhile, Tasha's transformation wasn't overnight. It never is. At first, she vanished. No posts, no cheer practice, no lunch table appearances. People thought she'd transferred. But slowly she returned, piece by piece. Not as Queen Tasha, but as herself. She started volunteering in the art club quietly at first, cleaning brushes, organizing supplies. Nobody teased her. Nobody dared. She wasn't looking for redemption through grand gestures, just through small, consistent ones, and Amara noticed. One afternoon, Tasha approached her during an after-school art session. "Hey," she said softly. Amara looked up from her sketch. "Hey." Tasha hesitated, fidgeting with her sleeves. "You think you could teach me? You know how to draw like that?" Amara smiled faintly. "You don't draw like someone else. You draw what's real to you." Tasha nodded, thoughtful. "Then maybe you can help me find what's real." That simple exchange felt bigger than any apology could have. Weeks later, a local journalist reached out to the school. The article headline read, "When Silence Speaks, Teen Turns Bullying into a Lesson on Strength and Empathy." The piece painted Amara as a role model and unexpected hero. Her mom framed the clipping and hung it on the kitchen wall. Denise Lewis couldn't hide her pride. "Baby, your daddy would have loved this," she said one night, as they cleaned up after dinner. Amara froze for a moment. It had been years since they'd talked about him. "Do you still think about him?" she asked quietly. "Every day," her mother admitted. "He made mistakes, but he loved you. And that strength of yours, that calm, that's him in you." For the first time in a long while, Amara smiled without sadness behind it. She reached for her mom's hand. "Then I guess he's still teaching me." The story came full circle one spring morning when the school hosted a regional martial arts demonstration for Physical Education Week. The gym buzzed with excitement. Students from all grades filled the bleachers. Coach Ramirez spotted Amara as she passed by. "Lewis," he called. "You gonna show the class some of that form you've been hiding?" She laughed, shaking her head. "No thanks, Coach. I'm retired." But before she could slip away, a familiar voice spoke up behind her. "I'll do it." It was Tasha. The gym went silent. Coach raised an eyebrow. "You sure, Reynolds?" Tasha nodded. "Yeah, Amara's been teaching me a few things." All eyes turned to Amara. She blinked, caught off guard, but nodded in encouragement. They stepped onto the mat together. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The once enemies, now standing side by side, Coach explained the basics to the audience: defense, leverage, control. Then he asked them to demonstrate a simple technique. Tasha looked nervous, but Amara gave her a reassuring nod. "Remember," Amara whispered, "it's not about hitting. It's about balance." They began slowly: footwork, movement, control. The crowd watched, entranced. When the drill ended, the gym erupted in applause. And this time, no one laughed. No one mocked. They saw two young women who had turned pain into something stronger: mutual respect. Afterward, as they stood catching their breath, Tasha murmured, "You really did change everything, you know?" Amara smiled. "No, we did." Later that week, Jalen found Amara sitting under the same bleachers where they'd first talked months ago. He dropped beside her, 2 sodas in hand. "Still like your solitude, huh?" "Old habits," she said, taking the can. He studied her for a moment. "Can I ask something?" "Sure. When Tasha was bullying you back, then you could have ended it the first day. You had the skill, the training. Why didn't you?" Amara exhaled, eyes fixed on the empty field. "Because I almost did once." Jalen frowned. "What do you mean?" She hesitated, then spoke quietly. "Back in Atlanta, my dad's gym. There was a real one. Some kid picked on me outside, and I snapped. I didn't mean to hurt him, but I did, badly. My dad shut down the gym after that. He blamed himself. I promised I'd never lose control again." Jalen nodded slowly. "So when you came here, I made a vow. No fighting. Not with fists. If I had to defend myself, I'd do it differently." She smiled faintly. "Turns out, words hit harder," he chuckled. "Guess they do." The breeze carried the faint sounds of laughter and music from the distance. Amara leaned back, watching the clouds drift. For the first time, she didn't feel like the new girl anymore. She just felt home. Summer arrived early that year. The school year ended quietly, no drama, no viral clips at graduation. Amara walked across the stage with her cap tilted slightly askew, the tassel brushing against her cheek. As she shook the principal's hand, she caught sight of her mom in the crowd. Eyes shining in the back row, Tasha and Jalen waved wildly, both cheering louder than anyone else. When Amara's name echoed through the gym, the applause felt like more than noise. It felt like closure. Later, as they took photos on the lawn, Tasha handed Amara a small, gift-wrapped box. "Open it later," she said. That night, Amara did. Inside was a bracelet, simple, leather-bound, with one engraved word, balance. There was also a note. For the girl who taught me that strength doesn't always swing back. Tia Mara smiled, tears welling up. A few months later, her story reached beyond the school. A youth foundation contacted her mother. They wanted Amara to help lead a mentorship program for at-risk teens, combining art therapy with self-defense. At first, she hesitated. Public speaking still made her nervous. But when she stood in front of that first group of kids, some shy, some angry, all searching, she realized something profound. Every lesson she'd learned at Jefferson, every bruise that never showed, every moment of restraint had led her here. This isn't about fighting, she told them. It's about finding balance. Between strength and peace. Between silence and speaking up. One of the younger girls raised her hand. So how do you know when to fight? Amara smiled softly. When the battle's not about hurting someone else, but about healing yourself. The room was silent, hanging on her every word, and somewhere deep down, she knew her father would have smiled too. Months later, Amara visited her father's old gym in Atlanta. The place was dusty now, the lights dim, but the echoes of old fights still hummed in the walls. She set her sketchbook on the mat, opening to the page with the ring in her reflection. Then she placed the bracelet beside it. Guess I finally figured it out, Dad, she whispered. You were right. You don't fight to win. You fight to end it. She stood, took one last look around, and walked out into the sunlight. The door closed behind her not as an ending, but as a beginning. Violence breaks cycles. Empathy ends them. And sometimes, the quietest voices leave the loudest echoes. There's a truth buried deep in every fight. Every scar, every story that never made the news, it's this real strength isn't loud. It doesn't flex for cameras, doesn't post proof, doesn't need validation. Real strength is quiet. It endures. It heals. Amara's story wasn't about punches or power. It was about control. Not of others, but of herself. About knowing she could destroy and still choosing peace. Because real warriors don't fight to win battles. They fight to end them. She didn't just change her school. She shifted the culture. She showed an entire generation that silence can roar louder than violence, and that choosing compassion doesn't make you weak. It makes you untouchable. Tasha learned that too, that redemption isn't a post or an apology. It's consistency. It's showing up every day to be better than the person you were yesterday. The world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more people brave enough to change. That's what this story really is. Not a fight between a bully and a fighter, but a reflection of us all. We've all been Amara. We've all been Tasha. We've all stood at the edge of a decision that could define who we become next. The question is, when your moment comes, will you fight to prove yourself or to find yourself? Because in the end, karma doesn't punish, it teaches. And sometimes, the lesson isn't about what you do to others, but what you choose to rise above. Power isn't in the punch you throw, it's in the peace you protect. Sita, if this story hit you deep, if it made you feel something, don't just scroll past. Subscribe for more real Black stories that speak truth, hit hard, and heal deeper.